Hello, Fact Families. I think that might be the first time we've got our timing almost perfect on that. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is fall 2024. We are Parent and Family Services. My name is Carrie Fowler, and I serve as the executive director of our program. I'm so excited to welcome you all back to campus and back to our monthly Facebook Live event. So if you have never joined us before, we go Facebook Live once a month with a campus partner to bring you the resources and information that's hopefully timely and also just serves as a good reminder and some important updates and even exciting announcements for you to know and also for you to share back with your students. So that is why we are here. Parents and Family Services is a resource office at NC State dedicated to supporting Wolfpack families. So we have our helpline that is listed right on the screen. And then we also have weekly coffee chats, which are virtual office hours. You can join us on Zoom. Us, our current students that work in our office, other parents who like to hop on and chat as well, ask questions, connect. And so that space is really meant for you. We do this every Tuesday and Friday while classes are in session, fall and spring semester. So we'll drop some links in the comments right below this video throughout. And the first one we'll drop is for coffee chats. Feel free to sign right up and we'll send you that Zoom link. But with that, behind the scenes tonight, we have staff that are working to answer your questions, provide you with the links as we discuss them here, and be sure that we can get as many of your questions answered live as we can. And so I am excited to jump right in tonight. So our featured campus partner that we're going to kick off the fall with is Prevention Services. We know that there is a lot of discussion about transition, that you all probably have a lot of questions and are looking to make sure that you're supporting your student in only the best of ways. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Laura Boyd, and she's going to take it away.
Thank you so much, Carrie, and welcome Wolfpack families. I am delighted to be here with you. I consider parents such an important stakeholder when we are talking about our students' well-being and their mental health. And so I am looking to build on sharing some information with you tonight that I shared with a lot of you at orientation over the summer, but going a little bit deeper to give you an overview of our office, talk more about how we can support our students' mental health and well-being. And that being said, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about prevention holistically. And we're going to look at the next slide. So just understanding a little bit about the mission of Prevention Services. Our role is to provide care and services from an educational lens and also a very inclusive and developmental lens and a non-judgmental lens. And that's because we are working with students' behavioral health, their wellness. We're also talking with them about substance use, whether they're exploring that or they want to know more about that or pursue recovery with us. And so just understanding that we are also working with our campus partners to provide good care and create a culture of care for our students. And ultimately, we really just want to enhance the individual and collective well-being and help students to have the resources and the support that they need to support the goals that they set when they first came here. So whether those are academic, personal, or other career goals, we really want to make sure that they have the support that they need to meet those overall goals. I want to talk to you specifically about some different types of support and resources that are available to your students. One of the things I think particularly for new students who are coming, whether they're a freshman or a transfer student, struggle with that transition piece of, I'm not friends with my high school friends anymore necessarily, or they might not have followed me here, or I'm transferring from another school here, and that's also really a challenging time to kind of find your people and find your community. And so we offer something called drop-in spaces. And those are spaces that are facilitated by a professional. Everyone on the staff of Prevention Services is actually a licensed clinical counselor or a licensed clinical social worker. We are different from the counseling center. We're not doing therapy with students, but having that clinical experience and education allows us to really have a mental health informed lens in the work that we do. So we are at these drop-in spaces. So we're there to facilitate that connection piece and help with student engagement. We're also there to provide great psychoeducation for your students. But this is a really easy, accessible access point for your students. If they're not sure where to go to make friends, this can be a good place. And a lot of these come from different points of view. So we have something called crafting resilience. So if you have a student who really likes to craft, these spaces are offered in the libraries. That's a partnership that we have with them. So introduces them to the libraries. They also craft together. They meet new people. So it really helps to reduce stress and to create that social connection piece. We also have a few other things that are more from nature-based interventions. We have something called the Nature Experience, and then we also have something called Flourish. So that's just to give you an idea of some of the variety of drop-in spaces that we offer. And those are always going to be updated on our website starting in September. As I mentioned, psychoeducation or mental health education is a huge part of what we do. And we are doing that every day, performing outreach to our campus community, whether we are providing trainings to our students or to our faculty and staff. We're introducing them to resources across the campus. And also coming into classrooms when faculty or staff ask us to come and speak on a wide variety of topics. One of my favorite things is actually our suicide prevention training. I think this is such an essential training that we give to our students, but also to our faculty and staff. And now we are also making available to you as Wolfpack parents. And I think it's such an important training for everyone to have. And what we're doing is helping our community look to understand and know how to look for the warning signs of somebody being in distress or crisis who might be thinking about suicide. And those can be really difficult conversations. And so we also spend time in that training, training our folks to think about how to ask a person if they are thinking about suicide, and then how to intervene. So how to feel empowered on what to do next. So I would really encourage you all to sign up for that this particular year. And then the program that I work with the most is our CARES program, which is our referral program. This is where we're really leaning into the early identification of concerns, problems, or issues that students are having. And that allows us hopefully to have good, meaningful early intervention with those concerns so that they don't escalate into crisis. And so you are in the perfect position to make a referral for your student if you feel like some things are going on where they could be benefiting from additional support and resources that we provide in the campus community. And what we do is we sit down with the students. We don't tell them where the referrals come from, but we talk with them generally about their unique experiences here at NC State, where they're feeling like they could benefit from different types of support. We make an action plan together, and then we are able as CARES coordinators to follow up with them and to help them make those connections. We also provide alcohol and other drug education and support. A lot of us know that this is a time when our students are exploring and they're experimenting with alcohol or other drugs. And so we have two coordinators, and their role is to provide good harm reduction information to our student community. And they also work to provide recovery support and also that middle ground of students who are maybe what we call sober curious, thinking about changing their relationship with alcohol or other drugs. And so that is from a very non-judgmental lens. We're not here to say do or don't do necessarily, but if you do, then we need to give you this really good information to help you stay as safe as possible. I'm going to just mention this. We don't have to go back to the last slide, but we also have our mental health ambassador program. So you may have a student who is really passionate about mental health and well-being. I would encourage them to, in the spring, consider applying to our mental health ambassador program. That is a peer educator program where our students really help us in spreading the word to the campus community about support and resources that are available. And I think that is really a great and enjoyable experience for a lot of our students. And so if you have a student who would be interested in that, would encourage them to look that up in the springtime. A lot of parents want to know, well, what are students being referred for? You know, what are the top concerns? And I can tell you that our very number one concern by a mile is academic stress. I think we have students who often have some pre-existing mental health concerns who come into this academically rigorous environment. That might be a trigger or an aggravating circumstance to mental health conditions that they already have, who might need additional support. We also have students who don't come in, but maybe due to academic stress, feel like they could also start using some support. Unexplained absences. This is often a student might have been really engaged in a course, they're doing well, they're showing up, then suddenly something takes place and they're not as present in the classroom or in the lab as they once had been. And so we often get faculty and staff who will reach out to us to say, we've reached out to this student, we haven't heard from them. Would you also check in with them, see if they're doing well and if there are things that they need? And then our third is depression. And I would honestly say probably anxiety is right up there next to that. And so depression and anxiety are two number one concerns that come into the counseling center as well. You can also see personal loss here, family stress, loneliness, and isolation. A lot of those things can also be part of the college transition experience. So, as I am also a parent of a teenager who's getting ready to go to college, and I know that it might be helpful for some of you to delve deeper into, well, what would I be looking for? How would I know if this is actually concerning, particularly if I'm not there? So these might be some things that you could be thinking about to talk with your students about in your weekly phone chats or in your text exchanges. But one of the things that we see is that there can often be a change in sleep or appetite. I think a lot of students come and, they don't feel like they have to be in bed at a reasonable time. And so they might, have changes there. We know that students who sleep between 9 and 10 hours a night have the sleep that they need, which means they are able to function as they want to and as they can perform in the ways that they would like to. Mood changes, withdrawal socially, drops in functioning. I can tell you when we work with students from the CARES lens in that program, when we meet with a student, we're asking them a wide variety of wellness questions. We're asking them, are you able to go to class? Have you been going to class? How's that going? How do you feel about your grades? Are you performing at the level that you want to? How are things in housing? How are things with your roommate? How are things with your family? We might ask them, how are things financially? Do you feel like you have what you need there? We will often explore food security as well. So there's a lot of different things that we're kind of looking at in order to look at the different dimensions of wellness to make sure that your students have what they need. So we're also using some of those things as markers of functioning so we can see, are they, if they're experiencing some depression, how serious is it? Is it impairing their ability to go to class every single day, for example? Other things, apathy. Maybe we had a student who came in and your student has always been super involved and really excited. They feel a real strong sense of purpose and meaning for why they're here and what they want to do with their lives in the future. But suddenly that change, maybe there's an apathy that sets in. That's obviously a big and drastic change. That would be something you would probably want to refer a student around. Obviously, feeling lack of connection, or again, that lack of community or social belonging. Any illogical thinking is something that's probably a little bit more severe, and that might be with somebody who has more serious mental health illnesses. And we do have a good variety of students who do have severe mental illness, who are working with clinicians, who are also stable and who are able to navigate the college environment. We just want to make sure that they have the support that they need. So then you can see here just any other general changes that this is just not feeling right. This is not my kid. This is not how they normally show up and function and walk in the world. Those might be some things. Trust your gut, trust your intuition. If you think something's going on, something probably is. And that would be something I would want to make a referral around. These are just an elaboration on some other reasons why your student might need support. We talked a little bit about that transition from high school to college. I'm just also thinking of my daughter who is an only child, and like she's going to go to college next year and live with somebody for the very first time that she's not related to, right? So that's a huge transition. We have a lot of students from around the country, but also from around the world. So coming here, navigating a new country or even a new language, learning how to navigate the city if the student is living off campus. It's a lot to take in, particularly in that first couple months. So learning a new place, learning where your classes are, figuring out what's required of you by your faculty, maybe students are working. So I don't want to minimize in any way the many, many tasks and developmental tasks that students have during this time. And that can cause a lot of stress. I think we're also talking about a new sense of independence and maybe responsibilities that a student is having as well. And so some of that can cause overwhelm. So we are really sensitive to that. I also want to just note that there could be real changes and differences in the academic rigor and expectations and responsibilities. They may be used to most of their teachers in high school doing things a certain way. And when we come into the college environment, we're doing that in a very different way. Faculty give you that syllabus in the beginning. They tell you what the expectations are. They don't always review all of those things with you every week. And so really having to be much more on top of things and having that kind of with that academic autonomy. So, also becoming adaptive to different styles of teaching. We may have teachers who are, fully lecture, maybe they're not used to that. So again, learning how to flow with that and adjust their own learning styles, I think can be challenging. Also want to say that, our students who are here are amazing students. They're incredibly bright. They've accomplished so much. And an A student in high school is not necessarily what they did to make A's in high school may not be the same level of work, time and energy that they need to put in here in the college environment. So they may be really transitioning to figure out, here's what I actually need to do in order to get the grades and to be successful in the way that I want to. And so that may be, like I said, a huge change. Also just the balance of life. Learning how to, I'm not going to the same class 5 days a week. I am going to a class sometimes 3 times a week or 2 times a week. I'm learning how to balance that flow. Also figuring out like, no one's going to be asking me, have you studied? Are you working on that assignment? And so figuring out how to manage one's time, I think is one of the bigger challenges, especially for our brand new students. Also learning about like, how do I manage my social life? Maybe students are participating in Greek life, so they're trying to figure out how to manage that process along with their classes and other clubs and organizations. And I just want to say that I think there's something that is very normal that we don't talk as much about, but a lot of questioning on, have I made the right decision? Sometimes when transitions are hard, we may start second guessing ourselves in terms of the decisions that we've made. We might be saying, this major is really, really difficult. And maybe this is not what I thought I wanted to do. That is such a very normal experience. And I just want to validate that. If your student is feeling that way, I would really encourage them to meet with somebody, meet with their advisor, or meet with someone in the Career Center to really start exploring that. And changing your major within the first year is also very normal. And I want to say to parents that I think sometimes that decision can seem so jolting because the student may be so assured about what they wanted to do. But when they come into the college environment and they start taking those classes, they start engaging with faculty or research or jobs in those areas, they're gaining so much more specific information to really help them make better informed decisions about what they want to do. So I just want to put a positive frame on that to say, like, sometimes these change in decisions are actually much more informed once they've been here for a little bit. So very, very normal. And we also have a support service for students who are in that boat called the Inter-College Transfer Program. And then fear of failure, I think students really want to show up. They want to be their best selves. They want to live into their dreams. They also want to please their parents occasionally. And if they're not doing well, they might be afraid about what those at home might say or how they might feel about that, and really not wanting to disappoint folks. So just having some support and some acknowledgement around that and encouragement to the student to say, let's maintain and have open conversation around these things. That will be helpful. All right, I want to briefly kind of go through some additional resources that are available to your students. I mentioned we have a counseling center. We are so lucky to have a really robust staff and also to have on-site psychiatric services. Over the last several years, the counseling center has really diversified the way that they show up for the students in the different spaces. So students don't necessarily have to come directly to the counseling center. We now have something that's called an embedded counselor model. So I believe at this time we have an embedded counselor in every college. Excuse me. And that's wonderful. They're very accessible to students. So maybe they're thinking about counseling, but they're not sure about it yet. They can utilize these Let's Talk drop-in spaces within the colleges. We have them in the centers, our community centers as well. So students can go in there, they can have a confidential conversation with a counselor, talk about their concern, and determine like what might be the next right steps for them. So kind of a confidential consultation, I think is a great way to think about that. And would very much encourage your students to use that as a first step if they're thinking about counseling. Obviously, CARES is a program that we love for you and for your students. So knowing that you just have that power to make a referral, would love for you all to be talking with your students about making a referral as well. It's not something to be ashamed of. If we can have that openness and the transparency around that, that is wonderful. Again, we're here to curate a specific set of resources that would be beneficial for your student. And then follow up with them along that journey. Using our drop-in spaces that we talked about really to help students find that place of connection and belonging and support. As a university, we are also really lucky to offer wellness coaching. So we have students and professional staff who are certified health and wellness coaches. I often refer students to this when they are thinking about setting a goal, whether it be an academic goal or a more personal like health and wellness goal. Coaching can help them create a SMART goal, something that's very realistic for them, also hold them accountable to those things. So I will often use that with students who are also trying to catch up on academic work to have a partner to do that. Something that fills up very quickly, and if this is something that might be beneficial to your student, I would encourage them to do this in the next week or so, but to sign up for an academic peer mentor through our Academic Success Center. And that is a mentor who will help your student talk through like what they're going through, what their classes are like, how to think about their note taking, how to think about their test taking style, work on a variety of things. So wonderful service. We have our student community centers. That's our African American Cultural Center, our Women's Center, our Pride Center, and our Multicultural Student Center, all focused on student success and supporting our students from those lenses. It's also a great place for students to find support and a sense of community. And again, those things matter because they also are predictive of having better mental health outcomes. Togetherall is a wonderful online peer support platform that we are offering for our second year. This is a great place for students to go to coalesce around issues or concerns that they have. They can go online anonymously. They can make a post. They can read psychoeducation and self-help articles. They can connect with other students and talk with them about their experiences. I really like Togetherall. It's obviously available 24/7. It also has clinical oversight. If a student needs to connect with support and a clinician, they can do that on Togetherall. I have mentioned to you already our alcohol and other drug education, just providing that one-on-one support for students around harm reduction efforts. And then we also have a community of students who are in recovery. And this can actually be this PAC recovery, I would say, is actually more for students who are in recovery from substances. We also are offering a SMART recovery group this year. So for example, if a student is struggling with gambling or any other type of addiction, this might be a place where they can go to gain very specific support. And then I wanted to just introduce a brand new department with at the university called our Office of Student Life and Advocacy. And they are helping support our food pantry through Pack Essentials. They also facilitate our student emergency grants, and they also help with absence verification if a student needs to be out of class for, let's say, a death in the family or longer term sickness, things of those nature. So those are all available to support your student. All right, and the last thing I really want to mention are just additional resources for you. Again, feel empowered to make a CARES referral when you feel like your student could really benefit from that. If you're not sure, or you want to talk with us about how to navigate it specifically with your student, I would really encourage you to just call our office and ask to do a consultation with a CARES coordinator. Happy to have you call me directly for a consultation. We can kind of talk that through and what that would look like. You are also free to do consultations with the counseling center as well. Again, wanting to really encourage you this year to think about QPR, just understanding more about signs and symptoms where students might be showing that they're in crisis, how to intervene, and then what happens next. I think a lot of people feel very empowered once they leave that training, and they feel a lot more at ease in knowing what they would do if they needed that. And you can apply that information to not just, obviously we're doing that for our campus community, but you'll understand more about resources that you can use in any area outside of the Raleigh area. And also just wanted to make you aware of some additional resources. One of them is called Lighten Your Pack. Lighten Your Pack is actually a website that students can go to. They can, in the search, they can say, I'm looking for wellness resources. And so it will basically do a specific search for the types of supports that your student is looking for. I really want to talk about, obviously, the importance of student involvement. We have a student involvement office, and that's we have over 700 clubs and organizations for your students to get involved in. And that's not just for them to be thinking about something to do for their career, but also just to make friends. Together, all I've talked to you about, Headspace is also available to our students. They can use that for mindfulness and meditation. And so that can be really helpful as a stress reducer. And then just a few things that you can specifically do are, again, encouraging your student to come to drop-in spaces, encourage them to try new things. This is why they're here. And we want to help them do that. Really, really encourage them to visit professor or teaching assistant office hours. We also spend a lot of time during the year training different teaching assistants on how to recognize signs and concerns and how to have intervention with their students. Encourage them to use resources. Like, those who use resources are actually going to be more successful, I think, than those who don't. And so going to the Academic Success Center, meeting with a peer or meeting with an academic tutor, even if it's just to brush up on something. We don't need to struggle if there's resources that are available. And then just providing a positive framework on using support and resources. When we have a lot of tools at our disposal, we should use them, and that helps make life easier. And so I think those would all be really helpful things to share with your student. And I hope that you feel empowered by knowing that.
Thanks, Laura. It's a lot of information, but it's such rich information. So now what we want to do is we want to hear from you. What questions do you all have? Monica, I'm going to invite you to join our conversation. What questions are coming in from our families tonight?
So the first question is, how can I get my student connected to resources if they are reluctant to do so?
Yeah. That's a great question. And I think it's very normal that students might be resistant at first. And so I would maybe, in the conversation with a student, want to say, can you tell me more about what has been going on? What have you been trying to do to make things better? Also, what do you think could make things better, to identify their point of view in what type of resources might be helpful to them. And then to say, what would you be willing to do? We call this is kind of a motivational interviewing question, asking them what would they be willing to do, helps them to go inside to identify their own internal motivations. And so a student is more likely to follow through with something that they've identified than via something that we are pressuring them to do. So kind of just thinking about how we can frame that up to help them be successful, and then find out what they would be willing to do, and then build on that.
Great. And the next one is, what is the difference between prevention and counseling?
Great question. The counseling center is set up with licensed clinicians who are there to provide what we call intake and assessment. So understanding the student's needs and why they are pursuing counseling. And then they provide group counseling. So that is where we have students working together around similar issues or learning different types of coping skills. That is very helpful for college students because it helps them to address the idea that they're not alone in what they're experiencing. It helps to destigmatize what they're experiencing. And it also helps them to have a sense of community, and I'm not alone in what I am experiencing. So group counseling can be really powerful. The counseling center is also going to offer some more drop-in space type work for students, so they don't have to have an appointment to go and start connecting with a counselor. And then they offer one-on-one counseling. And they do that on a short-term solution-focused manner. And then they also provide on-campus psychiatry, which is for medication management. So prevention, I always like to say, is the sister to the counseling center. So when we think about a continuum of care, we look at prevention kind of on that early side of things. And so the work that we're doing is again, all by licensed clinicians. So really having that mental health informed lens that helps us to provide great early identification information to the campus community. We provide psychoeducation, harm reduction information. So again, all of that is kind of done in that early intervention lens to help prevent concerns from happening, also to help concerns from becoming exacerbated as well. So that is the type of work that kind of prevention and counseling do kind of hand in hand alongside each other.
And the next question is, what do you recommend for students to find connection and belonging? Why is this so important?
Connection and belonging is important because we know that when students have a sense of belonging, they are more likely to have better mental health outcomes. So it's not ideal for a student to come and to go to class and then hang out in their room all day. It's important for them to find a place where they feel comfortable, where they feel seen, where they feel heard, to have a friend group that they can rely on. We call that social support. And having social support is really is important. And I think, if we were here to say, could everybody in their own lives identify at least one person for social support? They probably could, which is good, right? So we want that for our students as well. And what we've done is we understand, I think particularly for new students, like coming in at first, like if you struggle with that piece, we really want to make sure that they understand there are really easy access point places for them to go to experience that peer support. And that can be, they can come to us through CARES, they can come to those drop-in spaces, they can use our campus community centers. They can go online to look at something called Get Involved. And that is where all of our student organizations and clubs advertise the type of events that they're having. And that's a way that students can also find connection. So connection is a really important piece of overall wellness and well-being.
And then the last question is, what are the most common issues that students struggle with?
I think the top one is academic stress. So it's like coming in as trying to figure out, what do I need to do while I'm here? Where do I need to spend my time and my energy? What new ways of learning do I need to adapt to? And that can change from semester to semester. Anxiety and depression, I think, are the other two major concerns that a lot of our students experience. When things are new and things are different, it's gonna provide activation. And so students have to learn sometimes new coping skills and techniques in this particular environment. And of course, I think depression can be a very common onset. Students could experience loneliness or just other challenges. They might experience grief or loss that might also result in depression. So there's a lot of different things that can happen at this stage of life between 18 and 24. And so, but nevertheless, whatever those concerns are, we're here and prepared and ready to support your students.
Thank you so much, Laura. Evolving adulthood, right? It's definitely
Absolutely.
something that is a transition for everyone, students and parents alike. Well, thank you for all of that information. If you joined us late or if you want to save this for later, the best thing about our Facebook Lives is they live right on our Facebook page. So you can just log in, you can save it to your videos. You can come back, watch it, stop it, however you'd like. If you have additional questions, you can drop them and we'll do our best to keep up if any come in, or just call our office. You can DM us on this Facebook page or call our helpline. We do have a couple reminders. If you didn't see them earlier, kind of move through the slides a little bit quickly. I apologize for that. A couple timely reminders just for the month of September, which is pretty much here now, right? Just crazy how quickly things go. So the university is closed on Monday, so no classes for the Labor Day holiday. That important health insurance deadline to opt out of health insurance is September 10th. So this is the deadline where if your student is staying on your health insurance or any insurance outside of NC States, they have to go in and opt out or else you will be double billed, and no one wants that. So make sure that they have gone in and opted out or in of the health insurance. Facebook Live. So our next Facebook Live will be on September 11th, and we will be featuring student leadership and engagement. So we're really excited to talk about all of the opportunities that our students have here on campus to get engaged. And so we will be getting some great updates from them and what's going on in their office this year too. And then September 17th is our first wellness day. So very timely, particularly when we're talking about prevention services. Students don't have classes on that day. And they are encouraged to take care of themselves, to do something that is outside of the classroom that gets them either outside or helps recenter themselves. There's lots of different activities that Laura and her team and Campus Health put on that day for students to take part in. I know last year there were some puppies on campus. I'm not sure if that will be the case again this year, but we always loved that. So the university will be open on September 17th, but there aren't any classes. So those are just our timely reminders for right now. You will also be receiving, if you have the Brickyard set up and you get our newsletters and are getting our emails, our first conversation calendar for September will be launching soon too, for some additional timely topics for you to check in with your student about. So with all of that, there's one other thing that I'd just like to talk about briefly. And that's a reminder about Parent and Family Weekend. Now, I'm going to start, if you have questions or anything like that, you can always email our office, but I want to begin by just saying that, we sincerely apologize to each and every one of you for the experience that happened last week. We had a best laid plan, and sometimes those don't work out, but our staff has been working as hard as we can to get things back up and running, and I'm excited to share that we have. So while some events did fill up, and some tickets are sold out, as you can see here on the screen, some of our biggest signature events are still available. And so we've got our Regents reception, our grandparents tea, the acapella showcase. We were able to add some more spots for that acapella showcase and for our bingo event. Family meals are always a big hit on campus during that weekend. And then, as Laura had mentioned, we will do QPR training for families during Parent and Family Weekend. So again, our sincere apologies for any and all interruptions and negative experiences that you had, but we are glad to be up and running again. We are here to help and support. And we just want to remind you that that weekend is about making memories with your student. So please make time to come to campus, let them show you around, see how they've settled in, meet their friends, and hopefully take in some of these events, or even just take them downtown too. The students always seem to enjoy that. So there's a Go link right here. We're going to drop that in the chat, and we do hope that we will see you during Parent Family Weekend. And again, our sincere apologies for any negative experiences there. So with that, that's all I've got tonight, guys. I really do thank you for joining us, and a very special thanks to Laura. Prevention Services does so much on our campus, and we are grateful for all of their efforts, not only for our families, but of course for our students and for our staff. They really do dedicate themselves to taking care of the Wolfpack as a community. And so we're grateful for that. If you need anything at all, please reach out to our office. Our information is here. And other than that, you know how to find us. So we look forward to seeing and speaking with you all soon. Go Wolfpack.